And thank you for joining us for this Friday, end of the week press briefing. Today, Orange County Mayor Jerry O. Demings will discuss our COVID-19 numbers and our positivity rates, among other things. The mayor will also give an update on the work of our strike teams and discuss next week's testing sites. The mayor also has a big news on the CARES for Individual Families program here in Orange County. And he will also share some new information on Orange County parks and magical dining with some very special guests that we have here with us today. From the Florida Department of Health here in Orange County, Dr. Raul Pino is here with information and important updates on COVID-19 trending in our area. We also have with us Scott Howard, the Chief Communications Officer for Orange County Public Schools, to discuss the end of the first 9 weeks and the progress of the school system here in Orange County. We begin this press briefing with Mayor Demings. Mayor?
All right, thank you, Dr. Williamson. I'm going to begin today first. You probably recognize that I was wearing an orange census facial covering today. I just want to remind people that our census count ends on October the 31st, so if you have not completed your census, you still have time to do so. The other thing I want to start out by talking a little bit about is I want to recognize the life and legacy of former Orlando City Commissioner Daisy Lynham. I had the privilege of working with her for a number of years at the City of Orlando. When I was Chief of Police, she came in as a City Commissioner and served for 16 years, and she passed yesterday. And so our hearts and prayers go out to her family and all of those in the City of Orlando that she had the opportunity to work with. And I can tell you that I witnessed her working diligently to make this community a better place for all people, and so she will certainly be missed. With that, I'm going to formally start our press conference at this time and just share some of the numbers with you about where we are today. As for the total number of COVID-19 cases that we have in Orange County, there are now a reported 41,822 cases. So here we are approaching nearly 42,000 cases within our county, 259 new cases since yesterday. What that should say to you is that the virus is still alive in our community. Although our 2-week positivity rate is averaging around 4.5%, our average since the pandemic started in March here within our community is 11.4%. We are trending slightly better than the state's cumulative average of 13.1%. We have now surpassed the 500 death mark within Orange County attributed to COVID-19 this year. That is an increase of 19 deaths since our last briefing on Monday of this week. I know that Dr. Pino will talk more about the deaths and the numbers here within our community. To that end, I want to also talk about our business compliance teams, better known as the strike teams, and what they're doing throughout our community to make certain that we have reopen our businesses in an effective manner. The teams have been working tirelessly for the past 6 weeks. They have visited some 3,300 different sites to make sure our businesses are following CDC guidelines and providing the businesses with the support they need in that effort. Unfortunately, our compliance teams have found a very small group of what we call bad actors. These are businesses that have been visited or revisited 4 times and are still not in compliance. To me, that just simply is not acceptable. This is a cause for concern because we do not want to repeat some of what we've seen happen across America, where cities have brought their numbers down only to see them go back up and then have to put more restrictive measures back in place. So we're trying diligently to keep our numbers down in this community. So far, we have not imposed any fines on businesses. Many of you know that the governor, by executive order, removed the opportunity for local governments to fine individuals However, that order is silent on whether or not local governments can institute penalties for businesses. I really don't want to have to get to that point in our community, so we have tried to be proactive and use a public awareness campaign to work with our businesses to keep them open, and we're going to accentuate a few business owners here today in just a few moments. But I want our community to hear me clearly say to them that even though at this time our compliance teams or strike teams are going out without the heavy hand, if you will, of imposing penalties, if we see where there are outbreaks associated with businesses who are non-compliant, we will look at the potential in the future. Okay. I know that you are probably asking me which are the businesses that we have visited and they have remained non-compliant. So we have 3, and I'm going to share the names and locations of those businesses so that our members of the public know where they are. At this point, one is a Marathon gas station located at 5365 International Drive. Another is the Italian Garden Pizzeria located at 13,770 West Colonial Drive. And the third is the Windermere Flowers and Gift Shop located at 5009 Dr. Phillips Boulevard. We're trying to work with these businesses. And so when those compliance teams come in to share with you best practices and how to comply with the CDC guidelines, that's what we want you to do in our community. We want you to be good community partners and good community stewards as we move forward. Deputy Director Tim Boldig is here to discuss the violations that are preventing these businesses from passing the inspections that we are doing. If you have questions of him, he's and his staff have been out. They can talk more specific to you about what they're seeing. Our health services team will continue to offer free COVID-19 testing next week at the Orange County Medical Clinic, which is located at 101 South Westmoreland Drive in Orlando. Free appointments can be booked for next Thursday, October 15th, and Friday, October 16th, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Those who are ages 12 and up can be tested. You can sign up again by visiting our website at ocfl.net/testing to book an appointment. With flu season on the horizon and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic still affecting us, health experts are stressing the importance of getting a flu shot. I look forward to getting my flu shot this weekend. Not really, but I'm going to get my flu shot this weekend. Our health services will also offer free drive-through of flu vaccinations at Barnett Park next Wednesday, October 13th through Friday, October 16th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Appointments again at ocfl.net/flu shots. Now let me just share with you where we are with our Cares for Individuals and Families program. With the news of so many permanent layoffs from different businesses here in our community that you heard announced this week, we know that our families are in need of crisis assistance. We will be giving $1,000 one-time payments per household for residents affected by COVID-19. We will open up our portal this coming Monday on October the 12th at 8 a.m. and the second date that we have chosen at this time is Saturday, October 24th at 8 a.m. We are announcing these 2 dates at this time. However, there will likely be an additional date or dates in the future. We'll see how these 2 dates go. It is our plan to kind of look at opening up the portal to 10,000 different households each time we open it up. We have $30 million that we have programmed for this effort and hope to impact as many as 30,000 different households here within Orange County. Our webpage has details for eligibility, and needed documents can be found at ocfl.net/orangecares. We want you to be certain that you have all of your documents ready and prepared this weekend. There are a few things that you should remember, however. First, make sure that you do not apply in the portal if you or anyone in your household has already received Orange Cares for resident funding. So if you've already received in the past funds from this effort, you will not be eligible this time around. We want to help as many different households as we can within our community. If you were denied for a previous application because of a duplication and that has been worked out, you can reapply when we reopen on Monday. It is important to note also that we are calling upon our local media to assist us in sharing the information that we have provided today. And again, obviously, this is only for Orange County residents, and that is inclusive of those who live within the municipalities as well as the unincorporated areas of the county. As a reminder, tomorrow, Orange County Parks and Recreation will be reopening our picnic pavilions, our splash pads, and group camping locations. Please note, however, that there are limitations on the number of people who should be present at these pavilions. The capacity is being limited to 50%. Also, indoor facilities and outdoor basketball courts will remain closed for now. For more information on that, you can go to ocfl.net/parks. And now let me just talk about some of what is happening with the reopening of our businesses and restaurants here in the area. I want to talk about the magical dining that has been planned and extended through the end of October now. The restaurant program offers 3-course meals to more than 75 of Orlando's best restaurants for $35. A 3-course meal for $35. And $1 from each meal benefits Feed the Need Florida, which is helping feed those who are struggling to access food during this pandemic. Originally, this was only planned for a couple of weeks, but the program was extended because of its impact on our local economy and meeting the needs of our citizens. It has helped to generate much needed revenue for many of these restaurants, and it has allowed them to bring back employees. I'm pleased to recognize 2 of the Magical Dining restaurant participants who are here today. I'm going to ask them to come forward. One is Bites and Bubbles. Mr. Nicholas Oliveria is here, if he would come forward. And we have Mr. Kabuki, the second restaurant is Kabuki Sushi. Ms. Rachel Kapliner and the general manager and chef Henry Moso are here today if you want to come forward. For more information about Magical Dining as they come forward, you can go to visitorlando.com for information about Magical Dining. Please join me in recognizing these business owners here. Thank you all for what you're doing and keeping us fed here within our community. I will tell you, I've had the privilege of eating at several of these restaurants during the period of Magical Dining. Thank you for being here today. And with that, I'm going to shift to Dr. Raul Pino from the Department of Health at this time. And gentlemen, you may be seated.
Good afternoon, and thanks for being here for us and for the public. As the mayor mentioned, we sadly reached a milestone of over 500 cases that has been reported death due to COVID-19 in our county. So for all of you guys, your families, the friends, and everyone affected by these, our most sincere condolences. We continue to perform well in other numbers. Sadly, it is the reality that this has happened to many of our residents. But We have a recovery rate of 96%. It continues to be the same. And also, we have added, since last time that we talked to you, 22 deaths to our roll. The range of those ages are from 41 to 90 years old. And for full comprehension, the death range, the dates are from July to October. And only one of those 22 occur between Monday and today. So 21 of those deaths are late reporting death for us. 11 female, 11 male, 1 Asian, 6 black, 2 other, 13 white, 20 had pre-existing conditions, 2 didn't have any that we know about it. With regard to the number of cases, yesterday we got reported 259 new positive cases with an average median age of 38. And we received yesterday 4,680 negative results. That is giving us a 5.2 positive rate for yesterday. We also have seen a decline of ER visits for COVID-like and flu-like symptoms. Initially, we have seen an increase in the number of flu-like symptoms at the ER, but they are declining for now. And with flu, we also would like to mention to you that additionally, approximately close to 5,000 children were vaccinated last week in schools for the first time in collaboration with Healthy Hero Florida, the Board of Education, and the Department of Health. We were able to offer flu vaccine in schools, and about close to 5,000 kids, 4,890 something, took the vaccine in the last week. 178 schools were visited. They have 12 daily, and it was very successful, taking into consideration the environment that we are at. So we probably would like to propose a second round, if we can, late November or early December, depending on how the flu pandemic continues to develop in our area. Just to call your attention how we are comparing to the state, and this is only from September 25th to yesterday. For rates, hospitalized, Orange County is about hospitalizing 6.7% of all cases. The state is hospitalizing in the same rate, the same period, 7.5% of all cases. 9.6% of those cases were healthcare workers. The state was 10.9%. The fatality rate for us in Orange is 1.1. The state fatality rate in the same period is 2.1. And our median age for the same period is 34. For the state is 40. With that, I will pass the podium to, I blocked your name. Scott Howard. Sorry, I blocked for a second.
That's okay. Dr. Pino, thank you, and thank you for your partnership and cooperation. I'm Scott Howard, Chief Communications Officer for Orange County Schools. Today, we are 1/4 of the way through the school year, and this will mark the end of the 9 weeks. At this point, our reported positive COVID-19 cases since August 21st is 343 students and employees out of a total of 94,000 students and employees that are face-to-face learning and teaching. We want to thank our teachers, our administrators, our principals, our staff, our parents, and students for their hard work and dedication during this time. This certainly was an unusual time for our schools and their operation and staff, and we want to send a deep gratitude to them as we move into the second 9 weeks. Just to point out, our positivity rate for our on-campus population was less than 0.5% during that 9 weeks. And as of right now, we have about 232 quarantines district-wide. So just a reminder, on Monday is a student holiday. Here in Orange County, it's a teacher workday. School will resume on Tuesday, October 13th, and we are planning for an additional 16,000 face-to-face students and about 1,000 face-to-face students that will return or move to Launch Ed. Of our 204,000 total students, about 84,000 students, or 41%, will be face-to-face starting on Tuesday. And 120,000, or about 59%, will learn from home for the remainder of the semester. I would like to provide just a few reminders for our parents for next week and beyond. Curbside meal pickup for our Launch Ed at home students will take place on Tuesday rather than Monday next week. Parents can pick up at any school 30 minutes after dismissal on that Tuesday. And parents, please remember there are no awards for perfect attendance. We want to make sure that if your child is not feeling well, to keep him or her home. If someone in your home has tested positive for COVID-19, the Florida Department of Health does not want you to send your child to school, even if they are feeling okay. The student will need to quarantine for 14 days, and if the student starts to show symptoms, you will need to get them tested and keep them home for 10 days. If your child is sick and you're waiting for results for COVID-19 test, out of an abundance of caution, please keep them and any siblings at home, even if they're feeling okay, until those symptoms subside or they test negative. Please remind your child to always wear his or her masks at school, at the bus stop, and walking or riding to school in groups. With more students returning to face-to-face, we encourage parents of students who are eligible for transportation services to drive their children to school if possible. During these past 9 weeks, many parents have opted to drive their child or children to school, and some high school students have driven themselves. At the start of the 2021 school year, we were able to reduce the number of buses by well over 100 to allow us to expand and make room when the changes come. We are hiring and training bus drivers to ensure we have substitutes and to prepare for additional services. We will continue to work with our students and their families to provide the support necessary for them to be successful, whether they're face-to-face or Launch Ed this coming 9 weeks and the rest of the semester. For information, you can access our website at ocps.net or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Again, we want to thank everyone for their support of Orange County Public Schools and the children that we serve every day. And now I'd like to turn it back over to Mayor Demings. Mayor, thank you.
All right, we'll open it up for any questions that you may have at this time.
Eric Mock, Spectre News 13. The question's actually for Scott Howitt, if you want to come back up. So, some school districts like Volusia County announced that, all kids are going to be going back to on-campus starting in January. Is that the same here in Orange County, or will they still have that option to do the online classroom option?
We just don't know yet. We're under an emergency order, which is still in existence. It'll, still ongoing through the end of the semester. We will make that determination once we get more direction from the Department of Education. Right now, we're planning to finish out the 9 weeks, and we'll prepare with whatever pivot we need to do. If we can continue with Launch Ed at home, I think we all agree that that's the safest environment for our children right now, especially because it lowers our numbers in brick and mortar face-to-face. And so we'll make that decision as we get closer. Thanks, Eric.
Karen Parks, Channel 9. You mentioned that the strike team has visited 3,300 businesses and they found 3 of them that remain non-compliant. Can you talk more, Mayor, just about those violations?
I'm going to ask Mr. Tim Bogdick to come forward. He has been intimately involved in the inspections that have gone on, and he can describe to you the challenges that they see.
Thank you, Mayor. I think with the strike teams, one of the things that we're seeing, look, I think it's clear out there what the CDC guidelines and protocols that the mayor has talked about and Dr. Pino talked about, and those are safety guidelines that we would like to do. Orange County has a mask mandate for face coverings, and that's what our strike teams are out there looking to enforce. With these businesses, it's the mask mandate that seems to be the one that seems to kind of go by the wayside and so forth. So our strike teams are really trying to be helpful and trying to encourage that, including posting of signage for that. So hopefully we'll, with some additional education and encouragement out there, we can get these businesses back on track and in compliance with the guidelines that we have out there.
This is Steve Hudak from the Sentinel. I have this question's for Mayor Demings and for Dr. Pino. The numbers seem to be trending in the right direction. Businesses are open, schools are open. What concerns do you have now going forward? And the other thing is, for Dr. Pino especially, have we traced any outbreaks to any of these businesses that aren't following the mandates, or any other sorts of outbreaks?
So with regard to what concerns do we have, always assisted living facilities are a concern. And right now we have a outbreak going on in one of those facilities. Why it concerns us, because most of the people are over 65, because most of the people in those facilities have pre-existing conditions, and because most of the people in those facilities are in close quarters. So that's always a concern, and the state have worked very hard to keep it the way it is, and we will continue to do that work. With regard to the opening, and have we traced any of the outbreaks to the places that the mayor mentioned, I'm probably not, and we will not be able to, in part because those are places of very high traffic, very quick. So you go to several gas stations, you go to several things of these type of businesses. So it's going to be difficult to pinpoint an outbreak to one of those locations. With regard to do we have any existing outbreaks in other locations, I did answer to you that with regard to the assisted living facility. And we also are investigating the possibility of a few cases associated to one of the bars in town. We are finishing the research on that one. We don't know if it's fully true. We have to have the results in our hands. If that happens, meaning the lab results, the confirmatory results. Part of what is happening is that a lot of people are going to point of care for testing, and sometimes outside the county. Because people, move through the central Florida area. So, but we are searching for those data, and if we find that to be the case, of course, we will inform you next week.
Eric Sandoval with News 6. This question is for Mayor Demings. I'd like to shift.
I guess Steve, he'll be upset if I don't respond to his question.
Oh, you want to chime in?
So we'll go to Eric in just a moment. What I would tell you, what concerns me most is I don't want to be New York or some other places that saw their numbers come down drastically to only see them go back up again because of, I think, people who somehow became complacent, as they reopen. None of us want to see that in our community. So the best way that we can avoid that is to make certain that we do the things that we have control of. And it's real simple. The social distancing and the wearing a mask, we can control that. And in spite of some people who don't believe in the science behind it and just want to object to the facial covering order at the expense of the health and safety of the rest of us, we're not going to allow them to do that easily here in our county. Okay, if that makes sense. Now, we'll go to Channel 6.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Eric Sandoval with News 6. Just, and this is for you, Mr. Mayor. Shifting gears, you know, it's been several weeks now since a 3-year-old and a 14-year-old were shot and killed in separate drive-by shootings in the Pine Hills area. Last night, we had a shooting at Mall at Millennia where there were intended targets. What are your concerns moving forward? And by the way, we found out from Crime Line there's been fewer than 20 calls with information on those drive-by shootings right now. What is your information? What is your concerns moving forward? And what can you say to the community to help them step forward and give some information?
I think for all of us, whenever there is a violent crime that occurs in our community, we have to be sensitive to that and put ourselves in the shoes as best we can of the families who are the survivors or who have been victimized because of the violent crime. So we will be announcing soon the makeup of a citizen safety committee here within Orange County, a citizen safety task force that would look proactively. And we'll use 4 prongs to the strategy that I would expect them to put in place. Number one, we should focus on prevention. We should invest early on in early learning environments that are positive for our youth and providing positive places where they can go, where they have appropriate supervision and oversight. We should be spending some dollars on the social service side, in other words, and then intervention. When we find young people who may have gotten involved in gang activity, we want to intervene in their lives if that requires counseling, treatment, other things. We want to intervene. And the third prong is enforcement. You know, some of this is a violation of the law, and law enforcement has to respond to it. And the fourth prong is prosecution. We will rely upon our prosecutors to appropriately prosecute the individuals who are involved in the violent crime itself. So those are the 4 prongs, prevention, intervention, enforcement, and prosecution, that I have found to work historically to address crime increases. And so we will task these citizens to leverage community resources to better address these issues. In terms of getting people to come forward to share information, I think if you look at this as if this was one of your family members, just perhaps you will have the compassion, if you know something about the people who have been engaged in these activities, to share that information. We have made it clear in this community that if you want to remain anonymous, you can do so by calling Crime Line. If you're not concerned about your identity, you certainly can call the law enforcement agencies directly, but give information. And of course, in the case of many of these young people who have died, the typical $5,000 rewards have been increased to like $20,000, so they monetize the incentives there. So we depend on you, the media, to help carry the message, and you have been doing that. There have been a few, I think, recent stories and focuses by different of our local stations on this issue. And I think if you continue to do that, then we will have the right sensitivities within our community to respond appropriately. Okay. All right. Other questions? There we are.
Question for Scott Arwell. Can you give us an update about school athletic competition in the county?
Sure. So yesterday, actually, we announced that we have 2 football games that are canceled for tonight. That would be the Freedom High School East River game as a result of 2 positive COVID cases at Freedom High, and the Celebration of Coe matchup for tonight was canceled because Celebration was going through contact tracing and some quarantines. And so as a result, they had to cancel that. It wasn't because of cases at Ocoee or at East River. It was simply a couple of cases at Freedom. All other sporting events and activities are continuing. As far as I know, we're continuing to cohort our football players, those athletes, and either in the cohorts at school or launch ed at home. And we are continuing our biweekly rapid testing of those athletes, which will continue next week. So, good.
This is Kelsey Thord with West 2 News. My question's for Mayor Demings. I was just hoping to get, how do you feel about the fact that Vice President Pence is coming to Orange County tomorrow? And now we also just got word that the president himself has rescheduled his event up in Sanford for on Monday. How do you feel about the Trump campaign continuing to come to Central Florida to campaign in the wake of all of the issues that they've had with coronavirus in the past week?
I'm okay with them coming to Central Florida, coming to Orange County. There's a way for any of those political events to be done in the safest manner possible. And so I would expect nothing less from them. It is the political season, and every presidential election, I think, is one of the most important times in our American history. And the people of America deserve to hear from our individuals who are running for elective office, and that's part of the process. So if, they come into our local communities, we should work with them. It's basically how I feel. If those events are held and there's no regard for social distancing or facial coverings, then that's a problem. I don't support that, but I have no indication at this point, that that's going to occur. So we just, appeal that they will do the right thing as they endeavor to have these events.
This next question was texted in for Dr. Pino, comes from Chris Palmieri from Bloomberg. Dr. Pino, how many cases or suspected cases have been in any way traced to the theme parks, not just outbreaks, but cases involving workers or guests either in the parks or their related properties like the malls, hotels, and ESPN Wide World of Sports?
I will be a genius if I know that by memory. I don't know. So there have been cases linked to the parks. But as I explained before, the parks, although they may be owned by a company, they have multiple vendors. And sometimes people just disclose the name of the vendor. Hey, the pizza place, this name. And sometimes they will say Disney, then we'll pick it up and continue the question in that direction. There were 2 outbreaks that we worked with Disney, not in Disney and not in facing the public. One was a construction company working outside in a project, and that went well. We neutralized that outbreak. And another one was in a transportation company among the drivers, also not a Disney business, but they were operating in some of the areas. So those are the closest that we have to Disney. We had isolated cases, and we have a family traveling from Indiana early this week. We took care of that case as well. So there are here and there one case, but we actually have not had a major issue with the theme parks. As I explained before, they have taken this very seriously. They not only interested in protecting the consumers, but also in protecting the brand. So they have gone out of the park in trying to find those measures: hand sanitizer, hand washing, social distancing, free masks for individuals, distancing in the rides. They were not operating at full capacity in the past, so now that they are, that could add another element. So we are observing, but so far the experience has been very good.
One more for you, Dr. Pino. This comes from Matthew Petty with WMFE. Dr. Pino, there has been 259 cases today, I presume, and it's the highest it's been in 30 days. Is this part of an upward trend, and if so, can it be linked to something specific, such as relaxing the rules or businesses being open?
Our cases are not going up. So if you go to the, you look to the absolute number of cases, you will see that they are increasing. But it also has increased the number of tests that we are doing. And it's a proportion of that. With that, the more testing we do, the more likely we are to find cases. As long as we continue to be between or below the 5%, we are fine, and that's where we are. There has not been an increase. It was a slight going upwards last week, very small, but that has succeeded.
Thank you. And this final question is for you, Mayor Demings. This comes from Ryan Lynch with the Orlando Business Journal. Mayor Demings, in discussions on spending any remaining CARES Act funding, is the county looking at directing funding toward any additional business support programs?
We still have some dollars available for our small business crisis assistance program. Once we expend all of the allocated dollars, we will relook at whether or not we will open up additional dollars for businesses here within the area. At the Board of County Commission meeting next Tuesday, we'll give the board an update, and we'll seek some guidance at that point. All right. If there are no other questions, I do have one other thing I'd like to do. As you all know, that October is Hispanic Heritage Month, and the Hispanic Heritage Committee of Greater Orange County has asked me to make a presentation to our beloved Dr. Raul Pino in recognition for your participation as a distinguished guest during the celebration of Hispanic heritage in Central Florida. Your commitment and service to the residents of Orange County is commendable. And so we've had the privilege now of working with Dr. Pino for the last year, and in particular since March, and working to combat the effects of the coronavirus here within our community. And if you're like me, he's a straight shooter. I believe that he's done a fantastic job of putting the people first over any politics, and so I appreciate his candor in working with us. So I'm going to ask Dr. Pino to come forward, and we'll make this presentation to him.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Pino, and thank you to all of you for being here and participating. We hope you have a safe, wonderful weekend. Take care.